and I saw a husband. Oh my goodness. He was cleaning his house. You know that kind of deep cleaning. He took the bin out. He wiped down everywhere. He mopped the floor.
Oh, Lord.
He brought fresh flowers.
Oh, Lord.
Massive bouquet. He put it there. His wife was upstairs resting very peacefully, or maybe she had gone to work or something. And he put the house together. He washed the dishes. He, brought out all the ones from the dishwasher. And in my mind, I'm like, why can't my husband?
Mm, mm,
And don't get me wrong, it's not because my husband does not do those things, though. But he might not do it all of them together at once like that. But I saw that and I was already comparing. And in my mind, I was already thinking, why can't he just be like this man? Like, I wish. Welcome to another episode of Marital Values. I'm Precious.
And I'm Sam.
And today we will be talking about expectations in marriage. This is a big one.
Fear is catching me.
This is a big one.
Fear is catching me. Where do we start?
So you're married. Congratulations. You're now in your husband's house. You're having a lovely time. Maybe kids have not come, or they have come. They started coming. What do I expect of my husband? What are the things I expect from this marriage?
Like you said, it's a big one, because what comes to mind is when I just had my first son, right? And I had to stay home for a while from work, and my husband goes to work, comes back, and I'm just mad. I'm just mad. The fact that he's going to work to provide for the family annoys me, because my expectation is, okay, come back from work and come and carry this child. Because I've been stuck with this baby who don't know how to communicate. Me as a new mom, I don't know how to communicate with a baby either. So two of us are just here trying to figure out our lives. When you go outside, yes, you're going to go bring bread for the family, but you're having adult conversations. I saw it that he was on vacation. That was my expectation. My expectation was, I want to be able to go to work too. I want you to come home and take care of this baby, not rest, in quote now. Because when he comes back home, he takes time, he showers, he freshens up, and he eats. Why I'm still with our baby? Like, come on, come back home, drop your bag, carry this baby. Let me have my own free time. If I want to stay on the call, let me stay on the call. But that was my expectation. And I don't think anything was wrong with it, but was it communicated in the way that we could have worked through it?
And this is the key: communication. Expectation. Maybe we should define expectations. Like, what are expectations?
I think for me, expectations would be the hopes and the desires that we have for ourselves and from other people. And a lot of times we give ourselves grace more than we give
other people grace, because human beings are intrinsically selfish. That's just the base level. Our flesh, we're selfish. It's all about us. So I expect this from this person. I expect this person to act like this around me. And in marriage, I think expectations are, as you said, communication is so key.
And when we say what are the expectations that we have of our spouse and how it's affecting our marriage, I like to group expectations, which is realistic and unrealistic expectations. There's nothing wrong with having expectations. Even God has expectations of us as his children. So just imagine you appearing on earth. There's no Bible, there's no guide, nothing. Do as you are. That would be a self-destruction, because we don't have any manual. We don't have anything to guide us. But God thought about our existence, and he put some guards there, some expectations of him for us, so that we don't destroy ourselves. Because everything that God does is to help us, because he loves us. So going back to expectations are not wrong when we have realistic expectations, which I also like to liken as righteous expectations. Expectations that does not abuse the other person for our own selfish reasons or desires. One realistic expectation, like you had mentioned, is just suddenly expecting your husband to be able to read your mind. And how godly as we like to call ourselves, or Christ like, we all are falling into that trap before. For me, uh, this example I'm gonna give, it's gonna be very interesting. I remember just getting to America. Me and my husband had been married for a while, but our relationship has been more of a distance relationship. And then here I am in the US, and 19th of May being our wedding anniversary. Every 19th of each month, my husband will buy me flowers, right? So when I came in February, he bought me flowers on the 19th. I was like, wow, this is exciting. Flowers for me. And then March 19th comes another flowers with a big smile. And I'm like, man, thank you, another flowers. And then April, another flowers. But deep down, I didn't even like flowers. I didn't like flowers. And at some point, I started getting annoyed because I was like, this is common sense. How can you be buying me flowers every month on the 19th? I mean, switch it up, change it. I don't even like flowers anyway, but I don't want to offend him by saying I don't like flowers. Stop buying me flowers.
Did you tell him that you don't like flowers?
No.
There we go.
No, but that's the unrealistic expectation. Why I expected him
So you
to
didn't
know.
communicate to him
No,
that you
I
don't
did
like
not.
flowers, and
So
you
I
wanted
expected him to
yeah.
know, just know that I don't like this thing. I mean, I'm your wife.
Yes.
Why do you keep buying me one thing? And the funniest part is, after 2 days, you don't see the flower anyway. That should tell you that I don't even take care of the flowers, right? But still, he didn't notice it. He just saw my excitement, and he continued to do it until one day I told him, listen, I don't really like flowers. To be honest, I don't really like flowers. But you can get me fake flower, the one I can see. And then we went from real flowers to fake flowers. And then at some point it became overwhelming again. Like, what is it with these flowers? Who even told this man I love flowers? Apparently, he thought all women love flowers. But I'm not every woman. I don't like flowers. And even the fake one is becoming overwhelming because I don't even want it anymore. Until I told him, I said, you know what, babe? I don't want you to be mad. I don't like flowers. And he's like, you don't like flowers?
Both real and fake.
I said, no, I don't like flowers. I could do with a few fake, but please stop buying flowers. And he said, what do you like? I said, money. I like money. I said, see all this money I used to buy this flower. If you had given me this money, I know how much I will have by now because flowers are not cheap over here. And he looked at me, I was like, wow, you're the first woman I've heard does not like flower. I said, well, bingo. I don't. But the thing is, it would have saved him money,
Yes.
time, and effort. It would have saved me the emotions of being mad, being angry, and judging the fact that he couldn't read my mind that I don't like flowers and I don't really want them.
Yeah.
And that's what happens a lot in our marriage. And um, expectation can be a two-edged sword.
Yeah.
It means it can be helping your marriage and it can be destroying it. So, what is it for a lot of people right now? What do you imagine it is in our society right now?
I think social media is a big one because, and I'm sure even us, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Just because we are sitting here, having this conversation does not mean we're perfect. Everybody's on a learning curve. In fact, you learn till the day you die. Anybody that stops learning just dies. So we're still learning. But what I am realizing is social media is a big problem. And the reason why is, we see people's highlight reels on social media. We see snippets of their lives that they've curated very carefully to put on social media for the likes and the comments and the shares and all these other things. They're not real life. And so you see these things, so I'm going to give a personal example. I opened, Instagram one day and I saw a husband. Oh my goodness. he was cleaning his house. You know that kind of deep cleaning. He took the bin out. He wiped down everywhere. He mopped the floor.
Oh
He he,
Lord.
he brought fresh
Oh
flowers,
Lord.
massive bouquet. He put it there. His wife was upstairs resting very peacefully, or maybe she had gone to work or something. And he put the house together. He washed the dishes. He, brought out all the ones from the dishwasher. And in my mind, I'm like, why can't my husband?
Mm. Mm.
you know and don't get me wrong, it's not because my husband does not do those things
Mm-hmm.
though.
Mm-hmm.
But he might not do it all of them together at
Yeah.
once
Oh
like that.
yeah.
But I saw that and I was already comparing, and in my mind I was already thinking, why can't he just be like this man?
Hmm.
Like, I wish, and immediately I arrested that, and I knew that that was not godly. That was not a godly thought. And it's just to buttress the point that social media creates unreal, and it's the same with women. A man will open a reel and see a woman who's had 7 children. She's looking very slim. She has her hair put together. Her face is all done up. Her clothes
Hmm.
are all done up. She's in heels. She's getting to the bag and she's doing all those things. And you think, why can't my wife be like that?
Mm.
Expectations.
Oh yeah.
So, in answer to your question, social media is I feel in this world that we're living in is the first and the biggest problem
I agree.
about expectations.
I agree.
Now, if we bring it back to, back down to earth, moving away from social media, there are things that, when we got married, in the previous podcast, we were talking about having conversations with our to be, the person that you want to marry, see the one for now, right now, having conversations about, our values and different things. And I think this also stems from it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that we expect? We were talking about women wanting men to change and men wanting women not to change
Mm.
when they marry. So how do we deal with the different expectations in the different seasons of life? Because remember, marriage will go through different seasons. There will be seasons in the beginning when there are no kids. There will be seasons when
Absolutely.
kids come. There will be seasons when they become teenagers. Then there will be seasons when they leave home. How, there will be expectations in all these seasons. And I guess the question is, how do we manage them?
Well, that's a good question. Before we even start managing expectations, we have to sit with ourselves,
Mm,
and really process what we truly need
yeah.
from our spouse.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times we talk to people, we talk to our spouse, but we don't talk to ourselves. We need to learn to
Goes back
talk
to
to,
the
yeah, we need
selfishness.
to,
It's all
yeah.
about the other person.
And
Yeah.
we need to learn to talk to ourselves like, what do I genuinely need? Sometimes we feel like we're expecting this, and when our spouse is giving us what we've mentioned, we realize that we don't need that one. That's not what I need, and we set them in this a place of confusion. Like, you just were complaining about these two things the other day, and I'm doing exactly what you're asking. It's still not enough. What am I missing here?
Yeah.
This is driving me crazy. That's because we've not had an honest conversation with ourselves to say, this is exactly what I need. This is my values. This is my non-negotiables.
Mm.
These are things that I can compromise on. And honestly speaking, though, in marriage, you might end up having very little non-negotiable
Yeah.
because times change and seasons change, and
Seasons
marriage is not
change,
going to
yes.
be all about you. It's always going to be compromise. It's only when you've actually sat with yourself and say, hey, these things are missing, and I know that my husband can team up with me to make this happen in our
Yes.
marriage. Not I'm not talking about a codependence marriage where you're like, you are the one who's going to do all these things for me. You need to make me happy. You need to make me smile. You need to lift me up when I'm sad. No human being can fulfill that for you other than God.
Yeah.
And when you've sat down with yourself to say, this is what I need, then you need to compare if you're going to now put your spouse in the place where God is supposed to be sitting,
Yes.
or in the place where they actually can fill that void.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we put our spouse in the place where God is supposed to be sitting,
Yes.
and we get frustrated because they can't meet that expectations,
Mhm.
right? So when we are now in that position, friction will happen.
Yes.
Frustration will set in.
Yes.
Resentment will start to build up. because we just don't understand why. It's very easy. You can do these things. It's very easy. Why are you not doing it? Like this person's husband is doing it. This person's wife is doing it. Why is it so hard with you?
Yes. Yes.
That's not who God has built them to be. And you have to understand your own spouse to know their level of capacity
Yes.
and be able to give them grace. When you've done that, how do we now manage the expectation? You're going to have to open your mouth to talk,
Communication.
express the expectation, and see where you can compromise and how both of you
Yes.
can work alongside. This is
Yes.
not, I've written down my expectations. Here you go.
Yes.
You now need to fulfill the expectations.
Yes.
It doesn't work that way. You didn't get married to someone who is your errand girl or your errand boy, right? You're talking to someone with feelings who also have their expectations, who also have dreams that they were hoping you guys will work together on, and visions where you guys actually have said you wanted to pursue. So when we communicate these things, that's the first step.
I think, just from everything you're saying, I'm just thinking about marriage being a partnership, and then I'm likening it to a partnership like a company. There's something called an operating agreement when you set up a company. It's an agreement. And it's the same with marriage being a partnership, a life partnership. There has to be an agreement. So you have to sit down and you have to communicate and agree. The things they are talking about in terms of fulfilling, or those are even intangibles, making you happy. My husband said to me one day, said, Precious, it's not my job to make you happy. You have to work with God to find that happiness. Like, I cannot make you happy 24/7. I cannot. Do you understand? So, as you said, we have to have conversations with ourselves. And I think one of the reasons, just trying to answer the question that we're discussing today about unrealistic expectations killing marriages, is individuals in marriages not having conversations with themselves.
Yep.
We're not having conversations with them. As I said, you were talking about intangibles, tangible things. Okay, let's even talk about housework, like the example I gave. Seeing somebody doing all that housework on social media. We have to have conversation. We have to communicate. Okay, what are we going to share the housework when kids start coming? Are we going to? Because it's very easy for me. I'm sure we've had this conversation. Away from here, about being in that new mom season, and your husband going to work away from the home, and coming back, and you just feel like it's okay for you. You've been out of the house all day, but are you opening your mouth? Are you sitting down and having a valid conversation about, I know you've been out all day, you've been working, and I appreciate your sacrifices for this family, but I've been at home with this baby that cannot talk. I've been here all day. It's really hard. Is it okay when you come back, just having the baby for 30 minutes so that I can go for a walk, or that I can have a little nap, or that I can catch up with housework, or okay, will you help me catch up with housework? You're just having those conversations.
That's why it boils down to vision and alignment.
Yeah.
So while me and my husband were still dating, I remember we would fast forward to when we have kids. We always wanted 3 kids. God blessed us with 4, but we always planned for 3 kids. And it's funny, we were like, we want 2 girls and then a boy, and then God blasted us with 3 boys first. Blasted us with 3 boys first, and then when we thought we're done, our girl came. Thank God. But we talked in depth about what we want our family, all the way to the jobs, what time you want me to get back from work, what time I would like, what kind of job I would like you to have, and all that, how it marries into the future and the home that we're building. So when our kids started coming, it wasn't difficult, or let me just put it this way, from my own standpoint, I don't believe it was so difficult for my husband to say, babe, you cannot take care of the child 24/7. I cannot boast of being the only one who did the night shift with our newborn. I can't do that because he did not allow me to. He will still go to work in the morning, but he called me one day, was like, 2 of us cannot be up because we're so clingy. If I'm up, he's up. If I'm feeding the baby, he's watching, or he's making the bottle, but 2 of us were getting burned out.
Yes.
And remember, I wasn't working. He would still have to go to work. So he told me, he was like, babe, you can't be the only one. We can't be doing this. We need to figure out a way how we would manage the baby.
Yeah.
So what did we do? He was like, you do this night, I'll do the other night. You don't have to do laundry all by yourself. Do the laundry, I fold. Or I do the laundry, you fold them. That was how we managed. We had talked about these things. But does it mean that it was perfect? No. Even though he was meeting that part of the expectations and the plan that we had, like you said, when he went to work, for some times I was mad because I'm stuck at home with this baby who don't know how to communicate but cry.
Yes.
And you at work having these conversations with your colleagues. I'm not thinking that he's working to provide. To me, at that point, he's just having fun. He has the opportunity to leave the house without the baby. I'm stuck home. And when he gets back, he takes his time, he showers, and maybe spend a couple of time in the bathroom. And I'm like, really? I expect you to come home, take this baby, don't be asking me what you want to eat. Because you don't even know if I've eaten all day. But that was a communication that needed to be done on my part. And I told him, I said, listen, I'm getting mad because I'm not working. I would like to work. But we both agree our baby's not going to the daycare at the moment. But at whose expense? My expense, because I'm the one who have to stay home. Right? So when I communicated that with him, it's not like he took it like, oh yeah, that's true. There will be some defense in all of this. Sometimes he will say things the nicest way, but the person will still be defensive.
There won't necessarily be agreement all the time. But the key thing is to make sure the communication happens. The communication is key. Because I don't know about you, but I find that for myself, when I internalize things, and I'm the kind of person, I have a lot of conversations with myself in my head, assuming that I'm having with somebody else. And there are things that I might not necessarily ever say to the person, but I'll have that conversation in my head. But I fear that sometimes if it gets to a boiling point, then I'll eventually say something I cannot take back, which is why communication is very key, especially when we're talking about expectations, realistic or unrealistic.
And when we're talking about communication, we're talking about mouth communication, not body language.
Oh no,
where you start keeping malice and be like, well, when I don't talk to him for 2 days, he will know that I'm angry about something, or she will know that when I give her this silent treatment, she will know that she has not met an expectation. That's not what we're saying.
Our spouses are not psychic. I think this is the thing again about expectations, is that we expect somebody to just be able to see you and read your mind.
And that's not even righteous.
Me to take the kids to bed tonight. I have to, no.
And that's not righteous.
You have to communicate. You have to actually tell the other person. You have to sit down and agree, okay, this is how we are going to do things. This is your responsibility. This is my responsibility.
And talking about managing expectation, I love what the Bible also said in Ephesians 5:25. God gave women and men directives in their marriage, and when God asked the man to love his wife as Christ loved the church. So it is godly expectation for your wife to expect love from you. We just naturally crave love. It's not because we are psycho or we are asking too much or we're needing. That's how women are wired. Women crave love, men crave respect. It's not a pride thing for a man to say, you need to love me. That's why a lot of times when a man and his wife are having an argument, you will easily hear, you don't love me, from the woman. And you will easily hear the man say, you don't respect me.
Yes. Yeah, that's so true.
You barely hear the man says, you don't love me. And the woman say, you don't respect me. That's how God wired us. So when your wife is telling you, I need to be able to look at your phone without restriction. I need you to remove the lock. I need to be able to access your bank account. It's righteous expectation, because when you leave your father and your mother, you cleave to your wife and you become one, meaning there's no secrecy. So those are expectations that are godly, that your partner can have from you. Same thing with a man. When a man is asking for respect, it's not like he's proud or arrogant. It's not a cultural thing. It's a biblical thing for a man to crave respect and demand respect from his wife. When you respect a man, he functions at the highest level to please you. Same thing with when you love a woman, when you just love her soul, not for what she gives or bring to the table. she's able to function at that highest level to respect you. But when the reverse is the case, you act in a loving way, she becomes somewhat disrespectful or rebellious. And same with a man. Okay, you want to be disrespectful? I just withhold the love and the attention that I've been giving you. And let's see how long this lasts for. So our expectations must be realistic and righteous. Bring your expectations to God. God, am I asking too much of my spouse?
Yes.
Bring it to the Bible. Does it align with what a man needs from his wife? Or does it align with what a woman needs from her husband? There are times when me and my husband cannot come to a compromise, and we'll be like, okay, let's open the Bible and see what the Bible says about it. And we'll settle it with that.
Yes.
So sis, I don't know if you have.
I think it also boils down to having a certain level of emotional intelligence to know,
Oh yes.
to be able to set realistic expectations based on the season of life your family is in. Because, just as a very baseline example, husband works, either goes to work or works from home, and the wife is at home with the kids because they're still small, and maybe you have, multiple younger kids, and you're at home with them in that season. And your husband has been at work all day, and maybe you have been looking after the kids, and then he closes from work, and you just automatically expect that as soon as he comes home, you can just go put your feet up and do nothing. It's a double it's very dicey, it's very tricky, because somebody will look at it from the outside and say, yes, it's right that when he finishes from work, because after all, he's sitting behind the computer and on the phone all day, he's not using any physical. You are there running after them, changing diapers, cooking, cleaning, putting children to bed, doing whatever you need to do, keeping the house tidy. So he should come and take, there has to be communication, because I find that in a lot of marriages, that's one of the things, that example, that scenario that I've given is one of the things that causes a lot of friction. And I've experienced it as well. And it's just sitting down and having, realistic conversation. The woman has to be realistic, and the man has to be realistic as well. And this is where compromise comes in again. And this is where sacrifice comes in.
A lot of humility.
So even though the man has been at work all day, he's been dealing with maybe a difficult boss, difficult colleagues, having to use his brain, just being generally emotionally stressed, because it's not necessarily, unless we're talking about a spouse that does a lot of physical labor. So again, as I said, the scenarios are so different and so varying. But whatever it is, it's going to boil down to having that communication about sacrifice. Okay, I know I've had a really stressful day, but I appreciate that you've been at home with the kids, cooking, cleaning, making sure they're okay, changing diapers, and just not having any adult conversation. I'll look after them for a couple of hours. Or do you know what? I'll tidy up and make dinner. You go get them ready for bed. So I guess everything we're saying about expectations, both realistic and unrealistic, is communication.
And seasons
And the seasons of life.
changes happen.
Yes.
My last pregnancy with my daughter, I could barely do anything, to be honest with you. I'm someone who does not know how to see them normally, because I go from here, here, and here I'm pregnant. I could barely do anything. Sometimes my kids will leave for school, my husband will get them dressed, cook and everything, and by the time I'm awake, they've gone and he's working. But never one day did he say, oh, you're lazy, or are you the first person to be pregnant, or is this your first pregnancy? No, he understood the seasons. It's not something I'm pretending to do. My body is just tired. And at that time, he had to wear the hat of both the mom and the dad. But he knew it was just going to be for a while. It's not forever. And I'm not going to now milk the season and be like, you know what, even when I don't feel sleepy, I now pretend like, oh, I'm sleeping, because he's going to do it anyway. That's no longer godly.
That's not, and this is where emotional intelligence comes in. We just have to be, just be intelligent, emotional enough to read and to understand the season that you're in. Again, I was just thinking that realistic and unrealistic expectations again will be subjective, because what I might think is an unrealistic expectation, you might not think is
Oh
unrealistic.
yeah.
You might think that no, I don't, that's very realistic. So this is why I said communication is key, and just having that heightened emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is not something that comes natural to everybody. It's almost like a muscle that needs to be developed. But I guess it's just being sensitive and kind enough to know when your spouse needs support and
Mm-hmm.
something, because you can be thinking something. I might be thinking, oh, I expect my husband to do this. In my brain, I haven't communicated it. But then in that same conversation I'm having in my head, I'm like, you know what? No, that's not reasonable. It's
Mm-hmm.
very unfair
Yeah.
because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So I've had that conversation in my head, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that, you know what? It's not even something to communicate or have a conversation about.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's not everything you have to talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
We cannot voice.
we have to
We
be,
we cannot. That's a whole different conversation.
yeah.
We cannot voice everything we're having. Our
Mhm.
marriage would have ended even before it started
Before,
if we voice everything. Even for someone like me who always says talk, you need to talk.
mhm.
But I also know you
It's not
cannot. There are
everything you
some
talk about.
conversations. If you must talk about it with God.
Yes.
Just get a space and just blast it. There are times where I've said things to God that I know I dare not say to my husband's face
Mm.
because it will wreck our home. But because of my emotions, I needed to let it out. It's best not to let it out with friends because what you've already expressed, you can take back. I had to go to God and be like, this is exactly how I'm feeling. And you need to fix it, Jesus. And I said exactly the way I'm thinking it and the way, and God doesn't judge us. Even when we bring these expectations to Him, He doesn't have the capacity to say, hey, you are a terrible person.
Mm. Mm.
No, the Holy Spirit gently reminds us that that's not in alignment with the Word of God.
Yes.
And we also have to, when we have these expectations, we also have to know what our strengths are, what our partner's strengths are, so that way we can balance each
Each
other
other out.
up,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
if you know you're married to someone who doesn't know how to cook, but they love to spend time with the kids, they can organize. That's something you might want to talk about, how it will play out in your home and how you
Yes.
can balance things. We don't have to force each other to do the things that we don't necessarily enjoy.
Mhm.
That's where resentment builds in. There's place for compromise, but marriage should not change you 180 degrees. You should not change from the person God created you to be
Mm.
just because you want to remain in a marriage. I don't believe so. If anything, your spouse should complement you.
Yes.
That's what I strongly believe. And when you are having this conversation, know that a lot of time men are not as vulnerable as women,
Mm.
but they can learn to be. So when you're going to tell your husband, this is what I think we should do, what I need from you, they might not be as vocal as us women or emotional as us women to just give you the response that you need.
Mhm.
Sometimes, if we don't even speak to them the way that brings respect, they may stonewall, which will be they will just be quiet.
Mhm.
And that's where we start feeling ignored and feeling unheard. So even while we're communicating, we have to do respectfully, knowing that this person have emotions, they have feelings, they're a human being too, who's building life with us, not someone who was created to please us in all ways. And for women, what I hear a lot is um submission, the part of submission. Husbands expect us to be submissive, and growing up I used to have a problem with it, like, hey, why do we have to be submissive to a man? You don't have to be submissive to a man, you only have to be submissive to your husband. That's who you have business with, really. If you read the Bible, it says submit to your own husband, you know. And it's not slavery. When your husband expects submission, it's not slavery, it's power under control. Respect is sexy. Again, I like to use that word. Just like love is sexy. I tell Mill, I said, sex doesn't start from the bed. It starts with how you've spoken to your wife during the day. It starts with how you've helped out around the house, how the kids are with your schoolwork, how the family is. Women carry a lot of mental workload. We're not thinking about bed or meeting you in bed when we know, okay, dinner is not made yet. Homework still needs to be done. The house still needs to be cleaned.
Yeah.
Laundry needs to be done.
Yeah.
You just go to work. And some of us women, we work and still need to think of these things. Why you just think of work, pay bill, and you expect that I come to bed and we have a jolly good time? We're not thinking about that. But we have to communicate these things to our spouse. Otherwise, we'll go in circles.
Yeah.
And nothing will be done other than resentment that will build towards each other. Says you have anything to add before we close this out?
No, I think we've touched on all the key things. Is being emotionally intelligent enough to be able to discern if an expectation is realistic or unrealistic, and communication.
Communication, that's right. Well, this has brought us to the end of today's podcast. I hope we've been able to bless you. We can wait to see you on the next episode. As always, our prayer is that you continue to thrive in your marriage. Until next time, again, I'm Samantha.
And I'm Precious.
Bye.